this lecture, we're going to look at using the vertex shaders in combination with our surface shaders. So as we've seen, creating your own lighting effects in the vertex fragment shader is a big effort. And you've already got the surface shader there that does all the lighting for you. So if you want to modify just the vertices and have some kind of vertex effect going on, you can combine that without the fragment part and just use the surface shader. So we're going to begin with Zombunny, and Zombunny has our material that's going to be grabbed with a new shader called Extrude. So create this shader, and inside you'll find the basic Lambert again, but it's a Lambert with a material. So we're bringing through our main texture, and we're putting the main texture as the colors onto the albedo. So nothing we haven't done before. And then put that onto Zombunny and add Zombunny's diffuse texture. So we should find that down here in our shaders. The next thing we'll do is go back into our code, and what we're going to do is add our vertex shader in here. So in order to include it, we go vertex, vert, like that on the end of our compiler directives, so it knows to find the vertex shader. The vertex shader will go under here. So just in here, I'm going to insert this code. Now, it doesn't matter where you put it really. It's going to look for your vertex shader wherever you've got it in this CG program. But because it's going to happen before the surface shader happens, it makes sense to just place it in the code beforehand. Now, it's this vertex shader that's going to manipulate the vertices of the model. It doesn't actually physically move them, it only moves them as far as the rendering is concerned. And we'll have a look at that in a moment when we go back and apply this. What we're doing is we're creating our app data structure that we need. We've got a vertex, we've got a normal, and you can see down in the vertex shader that what we're doing is adding the normal to the vertex position. So we need those two values. We also need the text coord value as well. This is our UV value, and it's required because the surface function is putting a texture onto the surface and it needs UVs. So you need to make sure that you've included that as well. The other thing you'll notice is that this app data is in and out of this vertex shader. There's no fragment shader in your code. There is a fragment shader, and Unity will compile all that together for you. So it's just assumed, or you have to assume, that between doing this and getting to your surface function, that what happens in the fragment shader is happening for you. And then the surface shader is allowing all the lighting and stuff to happen without a lot of effort from you to do. And if you're interested to see what this code actually produces, don't be afraid to always select the shader itself and go compile and show code over in the inspector, and you will see the actual code for this. So we've got our app data, it's coming in, and what we're doing here is we're grabbing the XYZ position of each vertex and adding the normal to it, multiplied by a small number. So the normal is going to be a length of 1, which could be quite large if you add it to the vertex position, and it is because I've tried it. That's why I've multiplied by 0.1 here. Right, so what's going to happen over here is if we go to wireframe model, remember each one of these points on Zombunny has a normal, which is, pointing out from the bunny. So if we grab hold of a vertex and move it along its own normal, it's going to have the effect of ballooning this model out. Okay, so let's go back to the code. We've done that. We're ballooning along the normal by 0.1. Now that's all we need to do. So if we just save that and switch back into Unity, you'll see that Zombunny gets bigger. You won't see any change over in this wireframe model. Let's go back to wireframe shading. And then if I select Zombunny, hopefully we can see this. Yep. So this orange bit shows you where Zombunny's mesh is, the model itself. And here you can see where it's been rendered that the vertices have moved, but only for the rendering. Okay, so the model, you're not having any effect on the geometry of the model itself in here. only the rendering. If you wanted to have an effect on the actual geometry, then you'd need to grab hold of the mesh and get the vertices and normals like we did in the last lecture to have a look what was on those planes. Okay, let's make a little change to the program. Let's go back in here and we'll add in a property at the top which will allow us to control the amount of extrusion that we're getting. So let's create a value called amount. And we'll make this, let's call it extrude. It's going to be a range between -1 and 1. And let's set it initially to 0.01. Then we'll go down and declare it again down in here. So we're going to float amount. And we'll use the amount as our multiplier for our normal. So just put underscore amount in there. Then if you save that and go back into Unity and select Zombunny, on the material you'll now have an extrude amount that you can change. And you can see that you can move the vertices along the normal outwards, but you can also do a reverse and go inside out as well, which is very odd. But yeah, so kind of making a balloon type of effect. And there you can see that even the UVs, they're still fine. They all work fine. The material all works fine. We're just modifying the vertices and moving them out with values that are already available to us. So that's how you can use the Vertex shader inside the code with a surface shader so that you don't have to program all of the lighting and special effects like that by yourself.